I've been really thinking about this and praying about it, and you know, I'm super excited. Like I said, when we have these shows, man, we don't have these shows for everybody to be in agreement with us. Um, we are really mainly here to provide information, truth, and inspire and motivate when we can. Right. I'm not trying to change no one's beliefs. I'm just trying to give them um, a segment of me from so they can have multiple perspectives, and sometimes it's really about just really getting someone else's perspective. You might not change your views, but it may give you a different way to look at things.
That's right.
And that's really what this is about, man. Without further ado, um, I'd like to welcome in someone that is near and dear to my heart, my dad, uh, pastor slash elder Calvin Johnson. We have him back home on via video um, on our Shoes Off Talk video. We have brother Eric Muhammad in the building. Once again, it's always a pleasure to have him in.
Always on. Always
Man,
on.
we the doors are always open to you, E, and really to everybody that we've had on or people that's interested in coming on. But today is really special for me because um, being a preacher's kid and being brought up in the church, it's been an indelible part of my life, all my life. It has allowed me to have a perspective about life that puts me in a place of I understand, regardless of what man says, God has the final say so. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's important to say because um, with that, you know, uh, we get so caught up in the rigmarole of what's going on in society and who's in leadership, but we have to understand that God's not going to allow anything to happen that it isn't divine. Absolutely. And in His plan. And He goes about doing certain things certain kind of ways, and then we may not understand it, but in the end, we will draw an understanding, and if we don't, we ask God to give us discernment and that understanding. Um, Today's topic: destruction from what? Destruction from within. Is today's black churches helping or hurting the black community? Um, I felt like it was important to talk about this today because, um, with recent events, the Marvin Sapp thing with him going, um, having the video that went viral, asking people for um, money, that isn't something that we are used to growing up in the church. I think it was more about how he went about doing it. Sure. And the aggressive nature. Um, Dad, you said that you had a chance to check the video out. What did you think when you first saw that?
Well, I'd like to give my respects to on the air, and I thank God for the concernment. We as people know who God is, should be distributing right information to those who we want to reach for God. Uh, Listening to what I heard, it's a different atmosphere today from what I grew up in and what I was taught. Now, what I do now believe is that in giving, God asks us, to give. We don't have to be compelled up and compelled to give. That's the way God wants it to be done. He wants His word to be in our hearts so that, hey, this is God wanted done. I compel you to do as a leader. I'm really stepping God's
Dad,
uh,
Dad, hold on one second, not to cut you off. Can you talk a little bit more into your phone because you don't have to hold it so much to your face because I can only see the top of your head now. Just lean more over into your phone, um, putting the camera a little bit further back so I can see your whole face. There we go. And kind
can
of,
you hear?
yeah, yeah. And it might help to speak up a little bit as well. Go ahead.
Okay. But what I was saying is that giving is instructed in the Bible, and we as people who God's people to teach what God tells us to teach. Yeah, sometimes do things that are not God's instructions. Why do I say that? Because you had one man that we all know about. His name was Moses, and he was leading God's people. And he did something that hindered him from going, taking God's people too. And the people made it to a place where Moses to. All because Moses did what Moses wanted. And that's why I say we have to, I think I heard you say something earlier. We have to acknowledge God before we initiate something to his people and get them to do something for God. When he did what he did, it seems like we are doing for man
Doing
and
stuff for
not for God.
man. Yeah.
And that's what you did earlier, saying, I want to be at church tomorrow. Happens sometimes that we, as leaders, get besides ourselves and we overstep the boundary that we have to be given to reach God's people. Giving is a part of our ministry, and to coerce God's people to give by locking doors, all that is not a part of the plan.
Yeah. And that's what I said. In essence, that you were breaking up a little bit, and in essence, to really kind of recap what um, Elder Johnson was saying was that um, God gives us instructions on where, when, and how to do things. And a lot of times we take those instructions and we translate those in a way that we want to translate it instead of how God gave us to translate. And like Elder Johnson was saying, is like um, we get in the way of what God has instructed for what by implementing ourselves in a situation, and that's what happened with that. Is that yeah, we've been instructed to give, um, but there's a certain way to do it, and my opinion and Elder Johnson's opinion is that um, he inputted himself in that situation, in that equation. Sure. E, give us your take on this, because I know we had a lengthy conversation the other day about it, and we really kind of got in depth with it. Give me your idea of this and
Yes, sir. I'll just sort of start off in the most holy name of Allah, who came in the person of Master Fuad Muhammad, and in the most holy name of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and in the most holy name of the Alma Minister Louis Farrakhan. I greet everybody with the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum, and that simply means peace and blessings. Peace be upon you. I really appreciate this opportunity, first and foremost, brother, to get on here because I really believe, Brother Tim, this is a very important subject in this hour. It's an honor to meet you, um, brother Elder. I really, it's an honor, sir, just to to um, meet the fruit, to be around the fruit of the tree. So it's an honor, sir. And I know that you're an amazing man because you have an amazing son. And I greatly appreciate the opportunity to dialogue and have this conversation with everybody about this important matter. But to answer your question, we had a good conversation, Brother Tim, and you know, as Elder said, giving is in every pillar of religion. It's in Islam, it's in Christianity, it's in Judaism. It's one of the cornerstones of who we are. God set that up that way for a particular reason because he obviously knew that there were going to be poor and disenfranchised and people that were the needy, so to speak. Jesus went to the needy, and that's who we are here and we were born to serve is the needy. Now, in the setting and to answer your question, Brother Tim, I really believe, brother, that we have to have what I think that a lot of people have, and just reading a lot of the comments and posts and whatnot, I think it had a lot to do with it was an undignified manner.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we say in Islam, there is no compulsion in Islam. And that's the same thing that applies. Compulsion meaning that we are being forced to do something based on what God is asking us to do. There should be no compulsion involved in giving. I don't give a damn however much money I have in my pocket. I'm going to give what I feel as though we're asked to give, and it tells us from the Christian perspective, it asks us to give 10% of our earnings. In Islam, it's different. It's a little bit less, about 2% or so, as the Holy Quran talks about. But at the end of the day, it's about the giving of alms. It's about the the um, the, uh, uh, the duty to go and be and to serve the. I think the issue of it is what we're dealing with in this hour, Brother Tim, is the fact that what we're looking at collectively, and I really believe what's been so much outcry, um, and Brother Elder, is the fact that there's a lot of mega churches now, and I think from a lot of the perspective of Black people that what we are seeing is we're seeing a lot going in, but very little coming out.
Yeah.
Because I think at the end of the day, we need to see, I think we talked about this, Brother Tim, is we need to see greater accountability. I think we should ask for greater accountability from all of our leaders, religious included, in our community.
Yeah.
And I think somewhere along the line we've gotten away from that, or we're afraid to do it, or we don't want to question these men in charge. Or I think that should be an easy thing for us to do. And let's open the books. Let's see where this money is going.
Yeah.
Because as parishioners, we should understand where the money is going. I know as a member of the Nation of Islam, we are giving account to where our money goes. And to me, there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah.
We have farms, we have trucks, we have schools, we have newspapers, we are building an entire nation. So for me to find out, to know where my money is going, and there's a local charity, if we need to keep the lights on or whatever it is to pay the bills at the mosque, well, we're giving account of that. And I think at this point, I think we actually need to have get account for where our money is being spent and where our money goes after it gets in the collection plate.
Floyd, what say you?
Well, my upbringing when it comes to financial is that what I'm used to is when a missionary, when a pastor, when an elder, when an evangelist, whoever it is, uh, asks for any type of financial, it's more so of the way it's done, the way it, um, the way people say, you know, we need $1,000, you know, real quick. Can someone come up with this amount of money and bless us with $1,000 or bless us with $500 or bless us with $200? And so pretty much, I just feel like it should be done in decent and in order, and if and not force anyone to give because that's not what God is about. He doesn't force us to give. It's a free choice. So if you got it, you got it. You don't, you don't. But you can give something.
Yeah.
Dad, you have something you want? Oh,
Brother Elder, if
Yes.
I may ask, sir, in regard to that, if I may ask a question to you, good sir, was there a point in your upbringing where the pastors and bishops and reverends were did they have jobs, and what was the structure of that? How did that look, sir? If I may ask you.
Well, yes, they work. And matter of fact, I'm working right now. And if we read the Bible, you see the men, some of the men that were with Christ, they had jobs, and they worked, but they were also taking care through the finances of the giving of the people that was congregation.
Yes.
Because, like you said, I think someone mentioned tithes. I firmly believe in that, and I still do. Promote it in my home and anywhere I go. My time, I give it. My counseling, I give it. I looked at something here while you were talking. There's a mega church being erected in this day and time, but there's a power struggle. There's pride also that creeps in, and that distracts us as leaders to do something that God didn't mandate. Humility and servant leadership should be demonstrated in God's people's lifetime, not so much as I'm the leader, you do what I say. Jesus had an opportunity to do some things in the midst of a group of people, 5,000, I think it said. And he wanted to know, was it anybody there that he could go to help these 5,000 people? And there was a young lad that had 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. And the disciples that were with him said, how in the world are we going to feed these 5,000 people? But we have to know that God don't need a whole lot to do has to do because he likes to be seen, not he don't want us to be seen. So when we let the people know that whatever you give it to God, and God will do what he has, and then you let God be glory. That's what I like to see in it. Someone mentioned accountability. Sometimes we as leaders and big congregations lack the counseling of our other, or we don't accept. And every person should be
yeah, that's the biggest thing as well is that we have to understand that we've been put in places of leaderships in place of leadership for a specific reason. You can never make that position about you.
That's right.
Um, God put you there to be a leader of His people, and I think it has gotten so commercial with religion, with churches, that it almost looks like it becomes a competition within between the mega churches, and it's like it's sad because like what we talked about is the black churches have always been pillars in the black community.
Absolutely.
I don't care what we go through. You can always find us at church on Sundays and
right.
whatever other nights and days, and yeah, it's always been a pillar. And I think with the destruction of the black community, I think what we're doing is we're giving people that don't look like us insight on how to bring the house down.
Man.
And what that is, man, is like we liken it unto, back in the 80s, when they started taking trade schools and all that stuff out of the community and making it to where our black men used to be able to uh, earn learn a trade in high school, and they have since done away with that, and then they flooded our community with drugs.
That's right.
And so they have figured out, and and we're not going to play the blame game because it's we all make a conscious decision in the direction of how our lives go, regardless of the circumstances. But when we are imploding from the inside out, it's easy for people and onlookers on the outside to just light that match because we literally pouring gasoline in the black community.
That's right.
And it was important for me to talk about this is because I always say this, and this is how I was raised. I don't go to church for who's there. I don't go to church and I don't care what the agenda is. God knows the desire in my heart. He knows why I'm there. If I give tithes and offering to a church and they go out the back door and spend it on whatever they spend it on, that's not my concern. That's between them and God. God knows why and how much I gave and what it was intended for. I think the other thing, the flip side of that is we get so caught up into um, worrying about what's going on that we forget what our purpose is.
Two different, yes, sir.
We get caught up in these kind of subjects and say, hey, I'm not going to that church. The pastor drives Mercedes Benz or he drives a Range Rover and this and that and this and that. And that could be a reason why you don't, solely become a member of that church.
Right.
But that shouldn't be the reason why you don't go there and fellowship and give God your time. Because, the Bible says, you don't need to be in the building.
Right.
You can have church anywhere. Church is simply a place where like-minded people go to fellowship. If I'm going through something, I want to be around people that have either gone through it or know how to get through it. So I want to be around that. But that doesn't make you more of a Christian than anybody just because you have perfect attendance at church.
That's right.
That's not it at all. And so it's a catch-22 when it comes to that. But it's a shame that we have people in leadership that are using leadership roles to their advantage. And like I said, I was really taken back by what I had saw of the video because it's definitely sending the wrong message. And see, I can say the things that I say because I grew up in the church. And I know a lot about the Bible. I know a lot about church. But when you talk about these new Christians and people that are just being introduced to God, like you're introducing them to that. And so for them, they don't know anything other than what they currently see. So if that's the message that you're giving to them, you're not doing your job leading people to God. Like you're actually doing the complete opposite.
What's different for me is what I don't really understand is, and I had somebody make a comment on my post. I really am. I'm like you, brother Tim. I grew up in a Pentecostal church.
Mm-hmm.
So that was our way, and I got to college and I just started to study Islam, and I had a brother approach me with the Final Call newspaper, and then so the story goes. But what what I think is so different is what I'm not, and I'm not really understanding, is that has this become a culture that we've accepted, and that is pervasive amongst churches right now? Is this something? Because what I do understand, there is certain, and this the reason why I ask that is this, because I know, as I listen to, and I've listened to enough pastors, and I've listened to enough reverends and bishops, etc., to know that there's certain scriptures, for example, that they don't teach out of. You understand what I'm saying? Which, to me, that's really really insane to me.
Yeah.
Why is the culture for us, or where is the part of the culture? And I make a joke about it, but every time I come on, talk, come on, shoes off talk, I always bring up the Jews. Well, I bring up the Jews because they control this country. They control nearly every aspect of our lives, and I think it's important at some point that we have to acknowledge that, and we can't be afraid of that,
Mm-hmm.
because the Bible says that they are the synagogue of Satan. See, Jesus had an argument with them in John 8. They was trying to, Jesus said, "I know who you are. Ye are your father, the devil." In this hour, we are living in that time. Our people don't understand who our open enemy is and who our open enemy has been. Does that make sense, Brother Tim?
Yeah, it does.
So I really think, I don't understand if that's part of the church culture. There's certain scriptures that they veer away from, or in why they veer away from it. I understand when George Bush enacted the faith-based initiative, which in essence was a very big part of what we see now of these mega churches. Gave a lot of money to a lot of black people to, for their churches. And essentially, they have free reign. But I'm just wondering, and I don't know if anybody has a way to answer that, anybody that's online on my live or on your live, Brother Tim, is why do we have to stay away from these type of things? Why are these type of things taboo? Why can't we have greater accountability? Why can't we have open preaching? Why aren't we able to talk about the real things and really inspire the people to be open, and inspire the people to not have so much fear and walk around? And why can't we be in a place, because it's so very important, in my humble opinion, in this hour that we're living in a very dangerous hour.
Mm-hmm.
A very, very dangerous hour. But yet we are on the premises of this. We are in the judgment. America is being judged.
The Bible is being fulfilled.
It is being fulfilled right in front of our eyes. I said it the other day, and I always say it. I wrote a post about it. But what we're looking at, when you go study Pharaoh, and you look at the extreme arrogance that Pharaoh had, he may have been probably the most extreme out of all of them. We are dealing with that same type of persona right now. We've never seen any type of arrogance to this level in the history of America, as far as the U.S. presidents, modern day U.S. presidents, I should say, because I don't know what it was like back in, when Abraham Lincoln and all those other thieves and liars was around. They've always, all been thieves and liars. But this guy right here that we're dealing with is on a different level than we've seen before.
Yeah.
So I really think it's incumbent of us to teach the people. If we're going to if we want to give we want these offerings, and we want to, ask for this type of money, and then whatnot. Well, in essence, that doesn't have anything to do with it. But in essence, I really believe that we have to teach the people the truth in this hour.
Yeah.
And it's very, very important that we do. And that's every aspect of our lives. So we could all be accountable. So we could all make the decision, Brother Floyd, to change our lives appropriately. You understand? To make better decisions, to live a certain life, because I know I had to make some changes in my personal life that I wasn't happy with, but I had to look myself in the mirror and actually say, man, I got to make these changes, or God is going to kill me, man. But the book says, woe to the shepherd that does not feed the flock. So we gotta feed the people, and we gotta give the people right guidance. Brother Tim, when I listen to you, brother, you give right guidance. See, we can give guidance, but there's a differentiator. Do you understand? We have to give the people right guidance in this hour. That takes study, that takes courage, that takes prayer, that takes meditation, and that takes having a reality based mind. Mm-hmm. Brother, when he gets on, brother, he speaks reality. I tune in. He's one of the very few brothers I listen to because I can't deal with the ethereal. I don't. In our teachings, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us there is no heaven after we die. We don't subscribe to that. We believe in the first laws of nature. Nobody has died and came back to us, which is why he teaches us that we should eat to live. Methuselah lived to be 962 years old. They had a proper diet, which gave them a everlasting life. Jesus said that he came to give us life what? More abundantly. So why are we going to the grave so fast? Because we don't live a lifestyle in our community. We live a death style. Yeah. And that's been perpetuated amongst our people. There is no good food in our community. I don't shop at Safeway for meat. I don't shop at Fry's with things like that. I typically try to go to better grocery stores. I try to buy my food out of glass, drink my water out of glass bottles, etc., because I realize the Bible also says there is not but one life. We've been made to believe, and I understand why, because we just, most of us work 8 hours a day, and we want to believe that there's something else in the by and by. I understand. We give a lot of time to this enemy. But at the end of the day, we have to look at ourselves and we have to make better choices. Back to what you said earlier, brother. Yeah. We have to make better choices, and that's what this is all about. We have to make better choices, and we have to do better, and we have to hold ourselves and each other with greater accountability.
Yeah. Dad, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Yes. Piggybacking on the accountability, we have to be transparent.
Yes.
We have to maintain trust that God has put in us as leaders. Otherwise, that's going to be in jeopardy when we do things outside His will.
Yes.
We have to have our focus where He wants us to have our focus, not misdirected. Sometimes focusing on programs and numbers get us out of focus, and then we fall into the entrapment. Our relationship disconnected from God, from the core mission of the church. I think the core mission of the church should be the soul of man and woman, boy and girl. We are tripart individuals. We have a mind, a soul, and a body. I understand that this thing that I live in called a body is decaying by the day. I used to have black hair. Now it's white. I used to have a lot of teeth. Some of them are gone. I used to do a 1.5 off a diving board.
Mm.
I can't hardly pick up one of my legs now.
Good, Pop. Doing
Something is
good.
passing away. But in the meantime, my focus is what is God's will for me at this time?
Mm.
Because I'm still living. I still have my right mind. I still know who God is. I know who He is, Jehovah Jireh. He provides for me on a daily basis, and I give Him the honor each day I wake. And the night before I lay down, I say, if I don't wake up, you get the glory anyway, God. I don't see anything that I don't live. And that's what that young man, that red hat, is telling you. He grew up in a household that I didn't tell him to do something I didn't do. I tried to not be too materialistic to misdirect him. I knew one day he was going to have to be a man. He was going to have a family that he was going to have to provide for. But I wanted him to also know that he's going to need God in his life to help him direct him where he should. There's nothing wrong with being wealthy. There's nothing wrong with a mega church. It's the leadership that's in error. And so we have to cultivate those things that God wants us to cultivate in that arena that we are in, whether in your home or a mega church. You have to set priorities according to what God's will is. Foster accountability. In my household, I'm accountable. In my job, I'm accountable. In my church, I'm accountable. In the streets, I'm accountable. Yeah. Stay on the solid ground. You, you don't shift back and forth. That don't make community a unity. Listen to what I just said. That don't make community a unity. I'm gonna leave it alone.
It's so important because as we move into the times that we're in, um, we need to be more critical of our leaders. Eric, you said, Brother Muhammad, you said this earlier. Is we got to start holding our leadership feet to the fire. We got to start holding them accountable. We got to start asking for. Uh, um, we need to see the paperwork.
Yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with that. You said it earlier, and as a leader, when you are leading someone or when you have someone working for you, and the best thing that you can do for that person is to have them buy in.
Oh yeah.
And how you do that is you actively make them a part of the decision making process.
That's right. That's right.
You include them in decisions. It may not be crucial and major decisions, but that's how you get people to buy in.
That's right.
Is you let them be a part of the decision making. And I think what we've done in our leadership is that we've forgotten about the community. And that's why I say it's so important for us that we don't lose ourselves in national elections when it comes to the presidency. We need to be more focused on our local leaderships, because that's where all of this is coming from, man. And these, if you're so naive to think that these churches aren't involved in the politics and in the financial backing from businesses, and that's why we're not hearing the word and how it should be relayed across, because when you go to somebody and you're dependent on them for something, it comes with rules.
Financial, yeah.
It comes with rules.
Yeah, yes,
it comes with stipulations.
Yes, sir.
And some of those stipulations is we don't want you raising a ruckus.
Yeah.
You can preach, but stay away from these particular subjects.
Don't upset the niggers.
Yeah, don't.
Right.
We don't need you talking about the gays, lesbians, and all of that. We don't need all that. We don't want you talking about that.
Yep.
Stay away from those subjects.
Yes.
Stay away from anything that can get black people riled up and start taking a stand for themselves. Yes. Stay away from all of that stuff.
That's right. That's right.
And that's why I thank God all the time for giving me this platform is because I I dare not fall into those arenas to where I will have someone silence me.
Crazy.
You're not gonna put money in my pocket. You're not gonna invest in me and then tell me
What to
that
do?
you're gonna control what I say and
That's
what I do.
insane.
And that's what we've allowed in our leadership in our community is instead of us finding investment within our community, we're going outside of our community.
Yes.
And so in essence what we're doing is we're giving people that are not in our community control of our community.
Oh yeah.
And we're not divulging that information. We're not giving the paperwork. We're looking at our leadership in the black community and we're thinking like you said, why aren't you teaching this? Why aren't you saying this?
The
They're
important
puppets.
stuff.
They're
Oh
puppets.
yeah. Oh yeah.
They're puppets. And so I think when you go look for churches, for me, that's what I look for. If I'm gonna be a member in your church, I want the unabashed truth.
That's right.
I don't want you tiptoeing around things that might upset the natives.
And that's why I asked Brother Tim, like, has that become a part of the culture?
Yeah, because we our black churches are getting loans. They're getting loans.
Yes.
And you don't think these people that are giving these churches loans and backing are telling them what they can and can't do?
Brother.
Yeah, they are.
That's
because
why,
like we said, the black church has always been a pillar of the black community. So if you want to attack the community, you attack the pillars.
That's right.
And they figured that out. And until we figure out how to strengthen those pillars, man, we're going to always be prone. We're always going to be susceptible to outside noise and outside interference
Always.
coming into our community and disrupting it.
Always. That's why, what you talk about, Brother Tim, is why I love so deeply, man, and I have no problem, man, because I call him my Lord and Savior, man, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because at the end of the day, man, he is maintained and he has been on independence because every dime that he gets is from us, and that's why he's able to speak and be strong as he has been over all these years, and nobody, again in modern history that I've seen has dedicated his life to the resurrection of the black man and woman in America, and has done it unadulterated.
Yeah, and it's not just been in America.
No,
Uh,
all over the world.
the minister has actually given us and enlightened us on a lot of information about political leaders around the world that have been abolished and taken out by the U.S. because of what they were trying to do in the way of strengthening our community.
Yes.
And we've been fed these false narrative about who they were.
That's right.
Just so we're okay with what was done.
Absolutely. And this has continued to go on.
Yeah.
And that's the sad part, Brother Tim. It's continued to go on, man. And at a certain point, we have to separate ourselves, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, from anything that is not going to get us a full and complete freedom.
Yep.
Because it is costing us our lives. It's going to cost our children's lives. See, at the end of the day, it's not, and I think you might have talked about it, or maybe you said something, Brother Floyd, about it, but, our lives don't belong to us. You start to realize that more as you mature. You start to realize how beautiful it is, and how much you actually want to give back and serve the younger generation. I've been involved with youth sports and and mentoring and being around young people, man. There's not much else that really brings a lot of joy to my heart, man, outside of being able to serve the young people and be a mentor and offer them proper guidance and offer them some assistance to get to their goals and achieve their aspirations. We have to realize, and with that comes, I think when you do that, Brother Tim, I think we might have alluded to it, but we start to realize how and understand that God's active hand in our lives, and we able to do that. We can see it, and we feel there's joy in that. You understand? There's a lot of joy in giving and being able to be. Because I told brother the other day, I sent him a text message. Sometimes I just message some of the brothers, man, in the morning, and whoever it is, the brothers that I talk to or think about, and I just wish him well. And I ask God to continue to give you strength, brother, because this is a very, very critical hour. We are gonna be faced with so much in these coming years that we have no idea what we are going to be facing in this country. That nothing like we have ever seen before. And this is God's hour. So the best thing that we could do is show each other love and actually work very hard to unify. You see, we have to work harder at our unity. And unfortunately, to kind of stay on topic, and Brother Floyd and Brother Tim, Brother Elder, I ask you, like, okay, because we can talk about what the issue is, okay, but let's always stay solution based.
Yeah.
Right? Because we can point out the problem, but how do we solve this problem within our community? How do we hold our ministers and our community leaders accountable? What does that look like? And what steps do we have to take to start there? I think that we at some point we have to have that conversation, which is a very difficult conversation, but we need to be have some very pointed questions.
Yeah. And that's really what it is. Dad, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yes. I'm glad he went there. Glad my brother went there because it's good to know the problem, but do we have any solution? And I say yes. Uh, I believe you alluded to it, brother, about you had around your minister available to you. We need to have access, but I mean, leaders need to have those people around him or her that can counsel them. You shouldn't be afraid to have constructive criticism once you've put something in force. Surround yourself with our peers, like you just did about my son, who will remind you of some. You may not have been aware of some things that he is paying attention to, and it's good to have some eyes looking in
Okay.
places where you have. Once we find out there are problems, prioritize what needs to be prioritized. There are some things that need to be renewed, outdated in our procedures in the church. We are living in changing times. We need to foster the accountability. It has to be there. If yeah, then you are not going to be involved with what leaders do. The stand grounded part, beginning a day with prayer, making a daily diet on the words that enter our hearts and minds, so we learn how to treat one another right.
Right.
Focus on relation. I think we talk about community. It's very if we don't endeavor to keep the unity, we're not what God asks us to do. He says we are one, as He and His Father are one. He asked God to make us one and sanctify us with His word. It's got to be still within us to stay focused and don't let that enemy distract us. He's prevalent. Look, that door is not closed to the enemy. The door that was trying to be closed so you can keep in the money, that door is not closed to the enemy. He's coming to church too.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think the takeaway from today's topic is there needs to be more accountability. We and you said something about like it's and Elder Johnson said something as well is we can talk about problems till we're blue in the face, but great minds don't talk about problems; they talk about solutions.
Right.
And the solution, from what I'm gathering from our conversation that we're having, is there has to be a level of accountability, and we can't wait on them to give us the accountability. We have to hold them accountable.
How will we do that?
We have to ask the tough questions.
Yes.
I don't care if it's going to an office and saying, "Hey, look, you're asking the congregation for this, this, and this. We need this. We need." It's just like going to the bank. You don't go to the bank and just say, "Hey, I want some money."
Right.
You got to show them a business plan. And if I lend you money, what's your plan to recoup this? How do I get my money back? And what they call it in lending is, I need to see your ability to pay.
Yes.
And so those are the questions, those are the tough questions that we have to start asking our local leadership. Is we're tired of the promises. We're tired of the promises with no work, but yet still you're dependent on us for your livelihood. We did it to Target. We didn't like what Target was doing.
Man, teach on it.
We stopped shopping with them, and in the first week,
man,
lost
billions,
7 billion or something. And it doesn't have to be that drastic, but we have to understand that we hold all the power. We hold all the power. And if we're gonna hold all the power, we have an indelible responsibility to not mishandle that power.
That's right.
And we need, like my dad said, we need people in leadership that's gonna spawn and spur us to use that power.
Yes.
And I think that is probably the biggest problem, is that we have power that we're not using.
Do you think it's, let's just, for the lack of any other church or whatever it is, let's just take Pilgrim Rest, because I think that's probably the biggest congregation. Now, what's the biggest congregation, Brother Floyd, here in Arizona, maybe? North Phoenix Baptist?
Yeah.
So that's the biggest congregation. How many people in that church you think? Because, man, it looks like when you go to Pilgrim Rest, it's about 10,000 up in there.
Yeah.
At one seating.
At Phoenix Baptist. So I guess, because back to your point, Brother Tim, is like, all right, well, we have to start there, but who do we reach out to, and how do we reach out to an individual or individuals to start that? Because that's the tough piece, right? Because here's the thing: is I wrote about it, and then please answer. But I wrote about it. See, Marvin Sapp believed that close the doors, close the doors, close the doors. He believed that he did that because he believed that he can get away with it, right? Because at the end of the day, it's been somewhat of a part of that church community,
Mm-hmm.
To where the point where, all right, we need to raise $40,000, and it was, somebody wrote on my post um, about that. He didn't say lock the doors. He said, well, let's not get into semantics, because
Because that's all it is.
that's all it is. That was a command. He
Yeah.
gave a command, right? So we don't
And
need
he
to
didn't
play.
say it just one time.
That's exactly right. Let's not play, little semantic, foolish, and childish games. I don't choose to get into those kind of things because we have to have an earnest conversation about it. He made a demand and a command to close the doors. So who do we go to, Brother Floyd, Brother Tim, Elder Johnson, within these organization or a church like that, and say, all right, man, like particularly if we don't belong to that church, right? Because I'm a Muslim. Somebody came in to be, for example, somebody came to the mosque and they was like, "Where all that money going? You give for?" Well, we wouldn't have no problem telling you. But at the end of the day, there's somebody from the outside in. You see.
Yeah.
So, I think that has to be a very strategic thing. So if any brothers can
Yeah.
answer that and kind of
It's just like with anything. It's like you can never go in a lot of jobs and a lot of even in the military, you don't go directly to the top. There's a chain of command.
command.
And I think that's what we need to develop in the black community is a chain of command. Um, because when you don't do things the right way, so much stuff gets lost in translation. And even though you may be right in wanting to have the accountability, and you are you deserve that, especially when you're part of the community that's funding a specific thing. You have that right. Um, but you have to put the right people in place that are going to represent you. And I think we have been putting the wrong people in place to represent us. Um, we've been allowing them to put people in place for us when I feel like we should be putting people
The pastors.
in place. Yeah,
Yes, sir.
we should be putting people in
I
place
agree.
that their direct responsibility is to the community and not the church. And it sounds easier said than done, but if we want to have accountability, that's what's gonna have to happen. Um, we have it in politics, we have it in whatever, and that's the reason why the current sitting president has taken everybody out of position that would hold him accountable
Yes.
because he wants to be able to run roughshod, and you can't do that when you got somebody telling you no, we ain't allowed to do that. But if you don't have those people in place, you can do it, and if worst case scenario, say I didn't know. And that's the world that we're living in now, man. And so accountability and communication, we've got to have it, man. And we can't be afraid to ask the hard, difficult questions.
That's right.
And I think that's the thing that we look at people in certain roles that have certain roles and certain titles, and we think that we can't question them because we're not on that same level.
That's right.
But you have to understand, whenever you have something invested in anything, you have a right.
Brother,
However big the investment is,
don't
you
matter.
have a right. Not only do you have a right, but you have a responsibility.
I heard the Honorable Louis Farrakhan say one day, we should question God with respect.
Yeah.
We can go to God, and because guess what? He is the author of all knowledge. So why wouldn't we go to Him and question Him and ask Him questions? If it's done out of when it's done out of respect, and guess what? Through our prayers and meditation, He'll answer us, and He will give us the proper knowledge. But guess what? That's what we've been told. Oh, you ain't supposed to question God. But that is a slave. That's slave teaching. See, that's what white people taught us
I,
during
I
slavery. That's part
that
of the That's part of the indoctrination process that they put us in during slavery.
Yeah.
Is that you shouldn't question God? Oh, see, they
I
scared us to death with a lot of foolishness.
I disagree with
What
you.
you?
You can't ask God. Uh, I I do it all the time with respect because He asked me to come unto Him, and He said, "Come." Well, if I don't ask no question, what reason?
Yeah.
He said,
Gotta ask questions.
you have to give clarity so your focus could be. Gideon was directed to do some things, and I don't want you to be upset with me, but put water on the ground and peace be. And then he said, can you put water on the floor and let the ground dry now? He said, don't be upset with me, but you're asking me to do something that I'm not used to doing as a son, and you want me to reduce my men to three. Are you, God, you want me to, and see, we have our own sometime by way we used to do it. Now God's ring, he, I want you to do it my way and let me be seen, and that's sometimes the problem with leadership. We get so caught up in having it done in a big way that we don't think it can be done in a small way for us. And God can take that small way and turn it into he can be seen and not you. And God wants that out of us. That humility
Yeah.
and obedience. If you be willing and obedient, that's what he asks of us. He said, you can enjoy the fat of the, you have no problem with me. I already had it made, but I need you to follow my instruction. Accountability. Again, you have to surround your look. Jesus deal with the church when he first came on. Pharisees, scribes, and they were doing things that were not, and they wanted to know who gave authority to address, not knowing who he was. And as he started to teach in the synagogue and correct them in their understanding of what they wanted to know what teacher did this guy go to, what teacher taught him. If we diligently study God's word, he said, I will reward you. If we faithfully pray and fast, seek his, meditate on his word day and night, he will guide us. No, we're not going to be in agreement with wrong, but sometimes we have to be the one that stand up for right. And the fear, God is not giving me a spirit of fear. Yeah, he hasn't given me the spirit of fear. I fear no man or woman, and I will tell them the truth. God will handle that after that, and I know he will. Thought about it in my mind. If Uncle Trump, Donald, his first, was sitting here right now, yeah, he may could do some things that affect my lifestyle, but he can't affect my man's spirit. He can't do nothing about that. It's already intact. I'm that. So now we have to teach that to people we're trying to lead. Feed my people, because they're gonna need to be strong. They can't eat junk food and live live and fight a good battle. They gotta eat some good food. But you gotta eat it too also, because you're gonna regurgitate what I give you. Because out of your belly is gonna flow rivers of living water. You got to do what God did if you're gonna lead his people. You can't do it your way. You can't give them something that you want them to have and then skip over the stuff. I think he said in his word, eat the whole roll. Eat it. Hey, you got to do it. You can't go through this thing being a God and doing it your way.
Well, well, that's so true. Is yeah, there's guidelines for everything that we do, man, for every part of leadership, and it's important that we stick to the guidelines and the plan that was laid out. Um, man, today was a another powerful show. I hope that what we've said has shed some light on some stuff. Like I said, these are our word. These are, you know, some of our opinions. Um, we're not trying to change people's minds. We're just trying to give them information. And Elder Johnson slash Dad, I appreciate you coming on here. Um, I know it's my mom is the complete opposite. She's in bed by 7. My dad is a night owl, so he'll be up till 12, 1 o'clock, probably watching WWE or something. Uh, but yeah, we appreciate you coming on here, Dad. We know you're not the most computer savvy person, but we appreciate you doing what you do. Mr. Muhammad, Brother Muhammad, it's always a pleasure
Always.
sharing the mics with you, supping with you, um, breaking bread with you, having dialogue, all of the above. It's always enlightening. I always seem to learn something. You always have a word, man, and we appreciate you. And we need leaders in the community like yourself. Um, we need leaders that are going to be leaders even when there's nothing to gain from it.
That's right.
And I think
Amen.
that's the best type of leaders that we have, and these are the leaders that we need to be choosing. Is the leaders that exude leadership qualities, practice what they preach, and then at the same time, um, not looking for anything in return, but to see the fruits of their labors throughout their community. And so, man, another powerful show. I appreciate everybody that tuned in on all social media platforms. We are narrowing this thing down and dialing it in. It's still a work in progress. We're trying some different stuff. We want everybody under the sound of our voice to go to our YouTube at Shoes Off Talk and subscribe. The more people we have that subscribe, the more we're able to do with these platforms. And we're always looking to, better our platforms. We want to try to have this as seamless as possible. It's a working process, but you know, eh, um, everything's gonna have its bugs and kinks and everything, and we try to work through them the best that we can. And so we appreciate you guys sticking with us, tuning in, and how we end all shows.
Well, wait.
Hold on.
Elder Johnson.
Yes, sir.
I had a question.
Listening.
Was Tim ever on the usher board?
I can't recall. I'm not sure.
That's you, Tim. I love it.
Okay. All right.
Tell me what I did do in church though.
You played the drums.
Oh, okay. That's Tim on the drums? Oh.
Right. Oh, I bro, like I can tear up some drums, like
yeah.
professionally, like get down on some drums.
Wow, that's
I
awesome.
grew up singing in the choir, playing the drums. Yeah, that was my thing.
Yeah.
That was my thing. I even told myself recently I'm gonna get back into playing. Um, yeah, that brought me so much joy.
Yeah, you talented.
But yeah, man, we appreciate everybody tuning in and being part of today's show. It's gonna get better and better. We're gonna continue to have these tough conversations because it's needed.
If I close out, Brother Tim, and just say a few words, brother, if you don't mind. I just wanted to, always give honor, brother, to you, man, and you and Floyd, man, for what y'all do here, man, because it's very much a needed platform, and to have unadulterated truth, man, is just a great thing in this hour, So I just want you to know, man, and just from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate the brotherhood and love you, brothers, and always, in the nation, we tell each other all the time. Whenever I see my brothers, I always tell them we always read each other. We tell them tell each other we love them, because it was our former Supreme Captain, Brother Abdul Sharif Muhammad, that really pushed that, because we just don't have a lot of time. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And we live, and we have to love each other, and we have to learn to love each other. And learning to love each other is it could be a task, man, because the Holy Quran calls us uh, stiff-necked, hard-hearted, and rebellious people, and we are that. But we got to learn to love each other through all of our flaws and whatever personal impediments that we have. We just got to be able to see through that.
Yeah.
Because we have to be, as the Bible talks about, be redeemers. You know, we have to have a redeeming spirit, man, which means we have to have a lot of love. We got to love people sometimes more than they hate themselves.
Yep.
And that's just what we have to do. And that's just what we've been conditioned to do in leaders in this community and abroad. So I just wanted to thank you, brother, and tell you how much I honor you and appreciate you for being the brother and the man that you are. Brother Floyd, same thing. Elder, thank you so much, brother, for allowing me to just bear witness to the tree that the fruit is bare.
Blessed,
So,
brother.
Sir,
Be blessed.
likewise, sir. Thank you again. I greatly appreciate it.
All right, you guys. The end of another great show. I appreciate all of the guests that comes on. Everybody that's been a part of the maturation of what we have going on here. Stay tuned. We have future episodes coming that we are trying to give as much of a heads up as possible, but we kind of allow ourselves to be led by the Spirit when we do and say and when we come up with certain topics. It's sometimes it's like the day before, sometimes it's the morning of, and you know, and so that's what I love about this is it's nothing really scripted. So we ask y'all to continue to tune in and how we end all shows. Love, peace,